Hello, everybody. Welcome to our CakeFu Masters Series. We are very excited to have a really awesome guest with us today. Avalon Yarnes is a very talented cake decorator, self-taught like a lot of us, but she just has a lot of talent and skill and has really made a name for herself. She has won several awards and most recently was in the Texas, what is it called? That takes the cake. That takes the cake, right?
Okay. Yes.
So first place, is that right?
I actually won second place.
Second place. Okay.
That takes the cake.
Amazing cake on That Takes the Cake. Amazing. You guys should go check it out sometime. It was really cute. It was this cute little girl that was holding a book that was dumping out all of this fun, like an octopus in a sailboat, and she's just in a little paper hat. It was so cute. It was so cute. I loved it.
It was her imagination coming to life, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. It was very well thought out and it told a story, and I loved it. I loved it.
It was one of those ones where I was like, I had a different idea in my mind, and that's what it ended up being, but it ended up working out just fine. So, very happy.
Well, you know what? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you just go with what works.
Oh yeah.
But it worked out very well, and it was a really great cake.
Thank you.
And I got to see some of it come together, which was really fun.
Yeah, late night hotel until 4 in the morning.
Yeah, if you guys ever, I really highly recommend doing the cake competitions and all of the cake events that go on, because you really get to know people and you really get to build friendships,
Oh, yeah.
There was Michelle Boyd and Liz Merrick and you and
Carrie.
Carrie Partridge, or Morris. It's Partridge Morris on Facebook. See, I do that.
Carrie, not necessary.
Yeah. So anyway, just really wonderful people and really great friendships that you can build through competitions. I definitely highly recommend it. So
we're going every year.
Avalon's great. That's good. And That Takes the Cake is a great one. It really is.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. So much fun.
All right. So Avalon, tell me a little bit more about yourself. How did you get started into cake decorating, and why did you think that this was something that you wanted to do?
So I actually started as a bakery clerk at a local market here in town when I was 15 at the bakery, and I was just astonished with everything they did, and they were just doing pastries and all that. And then I got in the back of the house and started making some stuff, and I then started watching Food Network Challenge, which I think a lot of us are born from Food Network Challenge, and watched Mike McCary and all of them just make these amazing things, and I was hooked. I had to do it. So I was always, inclined with the art part, but I never stuck until I did it with cake for some reason. So it's been a lot of fun.
Too. That's me. Artist. And I would dabble in little things here.
I think it's because you get to mess around with so many different mediums. Like you're dealing with taste, you're dealing with texture, you're dealing with painting possibly, like today, and sculpture, and so much. It's just there's so many avenues.
I agree completely. So you are on Food Network, is that right?
Yes, I assisted on Food Network Challenge. Yeah,
awesome.
That was fun. It was a lot of fun, and it's taped here in Denver, so didn't have to go very far, and I think I had a little bit of a leg above the rest because of that. But we won.
Yay! Congratulations. Who did you assist?
I assisted Rachel Tufel.
Oh, love Rachel.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome. If you guys didn't see the episode, you should probably go and watch it. I know I've seen that one. Which one was that?
It's a Halloween one. There was a big green chair and a girl sitting in the chair with a skeleton, and it was fun.
I remember that one. I do remember that one. How fun.
Yeah, it was really
awesome.
Cool. Thanks.
That's very cool. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. It's a good one for the resume for sure.
Oh, definitely. To be able to say you had a win on Food Network, that's something.
Before they canceled the show, it was so tragic when they did that.
Oh, I know. That was so sad to see it go because everybody's dream was to be on Food
Oh
Network.
my
So,
gosh. I know. I was lucky. So.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, congratulations. All right, so today we have a really cool technique that you're going to be showing. You have figured out how to do kind of a relief painting effect.
Yeah. So a lot of this, or a lot of you guys might go old school with this, or it might remind you if you have any background with painting. It's kind of a watercolor technique. So basically, water doesn't sit well on a fat or an oil. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint with cocoa butter, and then we're going to do a water wash over it, and the water just beads right off of that cocoa butter because it's a fat, and it doesn't like to sit on that. So it's basically when you were maybe a kid, if you would draw with crayons and then you would wash over it with, paint, watercolor paint, it would disperse and it wouldn't show up where you wrote on with the crayon. So that's kind of what we're doing here. So, and it's a technique, it's also called masking. It's very similar to that, so in watercolor painting too.
Very cool. Yeah, I've seen the technique done before on canvas.
Yeah.
But to see it done on cake is really cool. So
yeah, it was one of those ideas that was just like floating around in my head. I'm like, I wonder if that would work. I wonder if that would work. I wonder if that would work. And then I tried it the other day, and I was like, yes. But I know, and you were telling me, Amelia, that you had the same idea, so I thought that was just so cool.
I know. I was thinking, when you mentioned that, I was like, oh my gosh, I've thought of trying that before. That is so cool. It's a great minds think alike. That's so fun. That is so fun. All right. So, do you have your setup all ready to go? We can just jump right into it. Again, if any of you guys have questions throughout, make sure that you ask the questions in the chat box, and we will filter through those and try and get as many questions asked as we can. And we'll just go from there. So yeah, go ahead, Avalon.
So I'm going to refocus you on down here on the table. So what I use is Loran oils, cocoa butter. I don't know if you can see that. And so I just take this when I'm preparing the cocoa butter. I take a mug of water. It's just like halfway full, and I warm that up in the microwave for about 1.5 minutes just to get some steam going. And then I will take a spoon, and I will just take the cocoa butter into like a little glass thing. We're basically going to create a little double broiler. So just spoon some cocoa butter right into there, and I've already melted some earlier. So
where did you get this, Lorenz?
I got it from a local cake shop called CakeFu, but I'm pretty sure you can find it on like Amazon and all that. So then you just set the little dish on top of the mug, and it warms up your cocoa butter so you can work with it. There's many different ways you can warm your cocoa butter. You can do it like on a heating pad. You just don't want to overdo it because you can actually make it start separating and do some funky stuff.
So just a really low temperature.
Yeah. You just want to keep it, fluid, and yeah, it should be good. So I just got a piece of fondant right here, and basically I'm just going to give you the gist. Now, something really cool that I figured out the other night, which I was excited to share with you guys, is that cocoa butter actually glows under black light.
It does?
Yeah. So if you have a hard time seeing this, because you are going to be putting a clear onto a white surface, and there'll be a little bit of shine because it's wet, but sometimes it's hard to see. So if you want to turn the lights off and put the black light on, you can actually paint with pretty much glow in the dark.
That is so cool. And that's a good thing to know in case you want to do it for some kind of a party or function.
Absolutely. I know.
Take it black light on the cake. That's awesome.
I know, right? And then I actually mixed it with some powdered colors, and those glowed too. So it was a really cool little discovery the other night.
Wow, that's neat.
Yeah.
How did you discover that?
I was just like, there's got to be a better way to see this because I had a feeling people might have a hard time seeing what they're doing. And I'm like, I have a
Mm-hmm.
black light. Let's just see what happens. And I was thinking the fondant might glow a little bit, but it actually
It
ended
was
up
the
being the cocoa
opposite.
butter. And it's kind of like this greenish, like glow in the dark paint kind of color. It's interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so there's a happy little extra tip.
I'm gonna go play around with that. That's really
Right?
cool.
Okay, so this one, so I'm just going to do some basic painting so you can see the idea. You probably can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just painting some cocoa butter straight onto there. So once you kind of get your design, you then want to put it in the fridge. So, you can do this straight onto a cake. The only thing I would suggest is not doing it straight onto a cold cake because it will solidify as it goes on and it might not have as much
Mhm.
fluidity. But so I have some that I put in the fridge already and that already have set up. So here's like some set up cocoa butter and it's just a basic pattern. And basically what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take some airbrush color diluted with a little bit of vodka. And I find that vodka works a little bit better than the lemon extract only because lemon extract evaporates so quickly that it'll sometimes evaporate right onto the cocoa butter.
Okay.
So if you can see that, I'm just painting right over it
Look at that.
and it's balling off.
That is so cool.
So I thought that was just so much fun. It kind of reminds me of there's like these patterns that you can find in like tropical like resort areas, like where they've got the almost
Oh
bleach.
yeah, like the
look
Hawaiian
on.
like tie-dye type
Yeah.
of yeah.
So I thought, you can do so many different patterns too. And then, if there's like a lot of beating up of the color on the cocoa butter itself, you can always go through and just whisk that
Dry
away.
brush it off. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. A
Okay.
Q-tip works really well for it too.
Perfect.
So you can do
There are so
that.
many things that we can do with this.
I
I'm loving
know.
this. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so I'll show you, and then you can always bring some other colors in.
Hmm.
Try to do more of a watercolor effect, which can be a little difficult on fondant, but and if you do overload it, sometimes it will stay on top of the cocoa butter, but you can pat it off.
With a paper towel.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, look at how cool that is.
So
You know, I
yeah.
have, okay, so I have a dress that I bought for a luau type of event, and
Uh-huh.
it looks just like that. It's got that same, kind of,
Flowy tie-dye, yeah.
yeah, Islander. It's just, yeah, that's totally the effect.
So
Look at how
I
cool
thought that
that
was
is.
really cool. And so I'll show you some other things you can do with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Like for this, for instance, can't see what it is. There is, actually this is going to be very similar to what I just did. But I did a little CakeFu one.
Aw, you're so cute.
A big old dork.
How fun is that? You know what? This might be actually a fun thing to do, like kid activities and things, like for a kid's
Oh,
party. Just do
absolutely.
a cake that's all plain, and then they can just go and paint it. Wouldn't that be?
Absolutely. And then it's like there's really not that big of a mess either, It's like
Yeah,
cocoa butter.
that's cool. Yeah.
Oh, and another thing, I actually tried this with butter, just straight up butter, melted some butter and painted onto a cake, and it worked very similar to the cocoa butter. So, cake food.
Oh, look at that. So cute. I love it. I love it. Okay, we're having someone that's asking about the cocoa butter itself.
Uh-huh.
They're asking about the shelf life. How long will it store?
Oh man, there's no expiration date as far as I can see. I've had this for, oh God, I would say a year. I mean, it takes a while to get through it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think there's a shelf life on it, to be honest. You just got
Okay.
to keep it in a nice, cool place. It's not like buttery when you touch it. It's like it's solid.
It's solid. Kind of like coconut oil is, right?
Yeah, yeah. So you're
Maybe
getting
not
like a
maybe
solid.
more solid than coconut oil, huh?
Yeah. And I'm not that in depth with the actual cocoa butter painting yet. Michelle Boyd is really, really good at that, so she might be better one
The
to
one
talk.
to ask. And we are actually
Yeah.
having Michelle Boyd come on soon.
Oh,
So
good.
if
Perfect.
you have your cocoa butter questions, Michelle will be able to answer them in a couple of weeks. So
Yeah, I've got
that's awesome.
for her.
Perfect.
So this one I pre-painted this with cocoa butter and the colors. So I used powdered colors and I mixed them with cocoa butter itself and I painted this. And I thought it'd be fun to show you guys what a wash would look like if you wanted to do like a nice little blue sky behind it. Just to show you that, it'll stay on there. It won't change the color of your cocoa butter.
Oh, that's so cool. I mean, that way you can, yeah, you can paint with the cocoa butter and then, paint over it and not have to smear stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Or layer the colors.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that.
Really good option. And you can be fast. I feel like it's faster, like you're just like, all right, bam.
You don't have to be quite so careful, right?
Exactly, yeah, which is nice every once in a while.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so we have a lot of people asking about the medium also.
Yeah.
Do you know if this can be done on buttercream or on modeling chocolate?
I know on modeling chocolate because modeling chocolate is also a fat. So what's going to happen is the modeling chocolate is the airbrush is going to beat up. Yeah, it's just like the cocoa butter. So it wouldn't work well with that. I don't think it would work well with buttercream either because it is also a fat. So we're working with fats and waters. I don't know the technical terms.
Yeah.
But it does work really, really well on icing sheets.
Perfect.
So not wafer paper, I will say that, but icing sheets that you can get like to print on.
Yeah, like the ones that Icing Images has, like the edible icing images.
So you can, if you're not very confident with putting it straight onto your cake, that might be a good route to go to first do it onto that and then put it onto your cake. Just because, once you lay that cocoa butter down, you can't take it off really. It's gonna leave that that spot is gonna have that grease. So no matter what you put on it, it's probably still gonna be there.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you put oil on something, you get oil on your clothes, it stains,
Right, it's a mark, yeah. So it would be fun to, I don't know if anyone's figured it out yet, but a good way to transfer the cocoa butter onto the cake. I tried doing it on a piece of acetate, thinking I could kind of do like a cocoa butter transfer onto fondant, but it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. It was a little bit messy. But if someone can figure that out, please share.
All right.
So this one, I actually painted the piece of fondant with blue, and then I went over it with the cocoa butter. So it's going to keep that blue color that's behind it. So the only thing to remember with the color mixing too is that you have to have a nice, blue and yellow make green. And I know that, and it's not going to make some really muddy color. But as you can see, there's a little flower that just is showing up. So you can do layers of color, and I can then again go over this with more cocoa butter and different designs, and something else, will pop up after my next layer. So
that's cool. Very cool. Yeah. You could do like lighter to darker. Like you could start off with a really light, and then like a white, and then put a light pink over it, and then put a darker pink over it, and yeah, I think that'd be
like
really
an ombre. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's really the gist of it. It's a really simple and fun and versatile technique. I think a lot of people have fun with it.
Yeah, well, I think this is really, I think, a cool thing that we can. I am so going to go do this. I can't believe I never tried it. I thought of it, and then I was like, someday I'll try.
One
And
of
I'm
these
so glad you did it because it is so cool. It is amazing. All right, someone's asking about the color. Sorry to
Oh yeah, no, no, no.
interrupt you. Okay, someone says, what's the difference between painting with airbrush color and regular gel color? I painted with regular gel coloring, and it seems like it never really dried. When eating the fondant decoration, the color started stained hands and lips. How can I avoid this, please?
Thin it down with a little bit of vodka or an alcohol. I use vodka. Some people use lemon extracts. Like I said, I feel like that dries a little too fast almost for what you're doing if you're doing this technique. But yeah, I know there's some other things people use. But vodka also evaporates quickly, and that's why you use that over water, because water will actually start to eat away the fondant. But yeah, so if you actually dilute your water or your gel colors with vodka, you can do the same thing you would do with airbrush colors. So it doesn't have to be airbrush colors for this. You can use gel colors. Just make sure you mix it really well with a thinner, like vodka.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I always stick with the airbrush colors just because they're already the consistency that I want it to be. And so that's what I use. So I don't really mess with the gel colors much.
Right. And the gel colors, you can get these little chunks of color in there, and then that, can ruin what you're doing. So
yeah, it depends on the brand of the gel color. But there was one time that I took, I think it was just the Wilton brand, and I think some Everclear. And when I mixed it together, it just completely gummed up and clumped up. So it's a combination of the things that you're mixing together that sometimes it makes it lumpy and clumpy, and it's hard to deal with that way. So again, that's why I use airbrush colors. If you want to stick with your gel colors, great. If you have a system that works for you, great. But
right, it totally works. It's just I agree with you. I prefer just being able to squeeze it right out of the bottle and be good to go. So I'm just I'm trying this on some icing sheets now, just so you guys can see. The reason why I really like the icing sheets too is because it has an absorbency similar to what you would see with paper. So you're getting that really true feel of the watercolor paper, and you can add a little bit more, and it'll look matte instead of shiny at the end, like a fondant can do, because the sugars are dissolving. So that's really nice. I'm going to throw this in the fridge for just one moment. I'll be right back.
Okay. Right, we have lots of questions, so.
We keep them coming. All right, what other questions do we have?
Okay.
Well, that's
Someone's
settling.
asking, will you have the same effect if you airbrush the cake after painting it with the cocoa butter?
I don't know about that. I have a feeling you won't. I have a feeling that because you're going with such small beads of airbrush, that it will actually coat the cocoa butter. Kind of like, because you can actually paint modeling chocolate with airbrush if you do it in small strokes. But I don't think that'll work. It might. You can try it. I would try it on a scrap piece of fondant. See how it works. There's also Fonderific and Chocopan don't work as well for this technique either, because they both are fat-based fondants. So I don't know if you've ever tried to paint on those, but they can be difficult.
Okay.
They beat up a little bit too.
Yeah. All right, another question is, does the cocoa butter absorb into the fondant?
No, it stays on top of the fondant, so you're gonna have like a raised image. So that's the airbrush actually beads off of that raised cocoa butter. So.
Okay, perfect. Let's see. How long does it take to dry?
Oh, so put it in the fridge. Or in the freezer. You can throw it in the freezer, and it literally takes less than 5 minutes. I would put it in the freezer for 5 minutes. take your cake back out, let it come to room temperature, because once it's solid, it's pretty solid. You just don't want to touch it with your fingers because it will melt even from the heat from your hands. So yeah, you just want to make sure you're not in a really hot area either. An air-conditioned space would be best, but we know that's not always doable for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hot right now.
Oh, you know what? I found this really cool thing on YouTube on how to make an actual air conditioning unit out of a bucket.
Oh.
And I will have to find that link and share it with you guys because it's really cool. I think every cake decorator in the world that lives in a warm climate needs to know about this because on YouTube, I haven't tried it yet, so don't take my word for it. But they're saying that it go from, it can change your temperature like 20 degrees.
Oh my God.
In just like 45 minutes or something like that.
Without having to buy.
Like crazy. So and it's minimal products. It's a little fan that you point down into a hole that you cut into a big, the big 10-gallon, 20-gallon buckets, whatever they are, those big giant buckets, and then you just put a gallon of frozen water in there, and you keep the lid on the water so it doesn't put moisture in the air, but it sends the cold out.
I was going to ask about the moisture, but
yeah, no, if you keep it covered, then it sends the cool out without sending the moisture out.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, there's like holes in the side that you cut, and it blows out because of this fan. So it's like, how genius is that?
You're so good. I'll be right back. I'm going to go get that.
Okay. But yeah, I'll see if I can find that link for everybody, and yeah, see if we can. Yeah.
My freezer is really cold. Okay. So this is the icing image, or the icing images paper. We'll do. I'm muddying up my colors. It's nice to have a few paintbrushes because you'll start mixing colors and then they'll get muddy, and so I like to keep a few by me at all times.
Sorry.
You can really get this guy wet, and oh, I don't have any good mixing colors. Lame. So it's getting kind of muddy, so don't mind me.
Well, you're doing a demo. Sometimes you just have to work with what you've got, huh?
you know what I'm trying to do. So, and then sometimes I'll just blot it a little bit, and it'll take that surface off. But you can get really detailed with it, and you can get some nice watercolor effects.
Oh, how cool is that? Yeah. Good. And that's just on the edible icing sheets, right?
Yes. Yep. And they withstand quite a bit of liquid, so that's nice. Where with the wafer paper, you couldn't do it. Don't even try it with wafer paper. I thought about it, but I was like, nah, I don't really want a gummy mess on my table. So.
Awesome. Okay, I just put up a link for those of you that are on the chat for that air conditioning bucket thing, because I just think that's so cool. And it would be very, very good to have for something like this. Anytime you're working with anything chocolate-based, you're going to have, or cocoa-based, the butter-based. It's gonna melt on you if you're not in a good temperature.
So
yeah.
So sad.
All right. So another question. Let's see. How long? Oh, we got that. How long does it take to dry? Does the cocoa butter smear after it's painted?
It can if it isn't set up. So you just have to make sure you put it in the fridge. Once it's solid, as long as your room is pretty cool, you shouldn't have any problems with it smearing. Like when you're applying the airbrush colors, it won't smear. You can just apply and apply and apply and apply. As long as it's solid and cold, it won't smear.
Very
So you
cool.
have to be like super careful.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool.
Like the cocoa butter, I would call it the same consistency as a wax. So like imagine you're painting on your cake with, you know, a candle wax, and that's kind of what you're ending up with. Doesn't taste like that though.
Okay. That's very cool. Oops. All right, and so there's another question. Do you ever mix your airbrush colors before you start painting?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you have a really particular cake in mind or a design in mind. Absolutely. Definitely.
Very cool. All right. Someone said, what about wafer sheets? You said no wafer sheets. I saw someone in the chat say that they actually did use this on a wafer sheet. You'd have to be really, really careful with
Yeah.
the colors, though. And
Yeah.
you'd have to be like almost dry brushing it.
Right, exactly. And I don't know if once you're getting onto that dry brushing, the color can settle on the cocoa butter itself a little bit, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so you're not getting that true color that's behind it. But if you can get it to work, I mean, all the power to you. That's just when I was just like, man.
Oh, someone said with the airbrush effect. I sorry, wasn't paying that close of attention when you were talking about whether you could do it with an airbrush.
Uh-huh.
Someone said the airbrush might dry the color too fast.
Exactly.
And so I just thought if we add that in there, it might be helpful for people to understand why you probably shouldn't try doing it with an airbrush.
Yeah. I mean, if you're like really close up with the airbrush to the cake and you're kind of getting some overspray, it might work, but you don't really want that. So you really want like a really watery, fluidy mixture. That's why we wouldn't use straight gel color, because you want it to bead off of the actual cocoa butter. So that makes sense. I'm showing you the technical terms for all this.
You know what? It's all good. We all get confused with all the technical terms anyway, right?
Yes, exactly.
All right, so someone's asking again, source for your wafer paper, or no, for your paper, your edible.
For the edible paper. I actually got this at Michael's. So it's just, I'll show you what the front looks like. So it's just
that's
a
Wilton.
Wilton. Yeah, it's just a Wilton brand one. You can definitely, you can use whatever brand you like. I'm sure they'll all work similar, but that's worked really well for me. So
awesome.
Get that at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or Amazon, I'm sure.
Very cool. Yeah, there are a few out there. The one that comes to my mind is Icing Images.
Yeah.
Just because I use them. They've got their...
Right, and I haven't tried that exact brand, so I can't really tell you, but I'm guessing it would work similar.
I would imagine.
Hopefully.
All right, someone's asking, can you do this on like a... I lost the question, but on gum paste or on fondant that's had tiles added to it?
Oh, absolutely. I actually tried it on gum paste the other night. I was trying to get like that striped tulip effect, like the parrot tulip.
Oh, yeah.
So it worked pretty well. I think it was a little too shiny for my liking, because the gel colors or the airbrush colors will give that shine to it. But it worked. Definitely worked. It'd be fun to like layer some colors on the sugar flour with that, I think.
Yeah. Well, if you were going for something more whimsical, I mean, I could see that being really fun, actually.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Definitely.
Okay. How about just colored cocoa butter on wafer paper? Can you color cocoa butter on wafer paper?
Yes. Cocoa butter is going to work wonderfully on wafer paper because it is a fat, and it's not going to dissolve the wafer paper like our liquids would. So that's going to work really well on wafer paper. Cocoa butter, oil color, definitely.
Oh, and we had another question. How do you color the cocoa butter?
So I have these powders. These are CK powders.
Okay.
But I also use another brand called Sugar Art. They're really, really good too. Those are just what I have around. But yeah, you just mix right into the cocoa butter. So if I were you, I would maybe I like this whole double broiler thing. I don't know why. I'm sure there's easier and better ways to do it. That's where Michelle Boyd might come in. But I would use maybe a bowl instead of a cup, and you can just put a plate on top of the bowl with your different colors, so it keeps it nice and warm while you're working with it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, and then again, can you use this technique with pastillage?
Ooh, I haven't tried that. I've never actually worked with pastillage, so but I'm guessing you can because it's all sugar, and I'm guessing it'd be absorbent. So I'm guessing yes.
Very cool. All right. Well, this has been so fun. So fun. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad.
I think this technique is so, so cool, and I think I can think of so many ways to use this now. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go do it.
I feel like we're just going to see a ton of fun watercolor type.
Yeah, if you guys do this technique or any of the other techniques that we show on CakeFu, share them with us. We'd love to see this kind of stuff. It's really fun.
Yes, yes, yes. Remember, glow in the dark. Well, glow under black light. That works too.
Yeah, so good.
Extra tip. Great. This has been so much fun.
Yes, thank you so much. I was looking. Someone just said, I love the idea of this technique on sugar flowers. I've been racking my brain how to color certain varieties of flowers, and this opens up the possibilities so much. So.
Yay. Just be careful with the sugar flowers too, with the gum paste, because if you do add too much moisture to it, it can make the gums gummy again, and after they've hardened. So just be careful with that. Just a little tip.
Light, yeah. Be light with it.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Avalon, for coming on and sharing this with us. You just are such an amazing artist, and I think that I think it's really fun to get people like you that come on that, you know, there are people that are very traditionally taught, and but then there's us that have taught ourselves, and we have to be creative sometimes, and so it's fun to come up with these ideas and try them out and see what works and see what doesn't work, and so to be able to come on and share what you've tried and what works, I think that's just really neat that you're willing to share this information with everybody.
Absolutely, I'm so glad. It was so much fun, Amelia. Like always.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and thank you everybody again. Go try it. Show us your work, and we'll see you guys all next time. Okay. Bye.
Bye.